Jamestown wasn't attacked by an army, only by a hunger clock.
Order isn't morality in a storm. Order is oxygen. Outside the walls, the land has eyes.
Powhatan didn't need to storm the fort. He could simply control what it needed. They came with guns and still couldn't win dinner.
In this war, the map is a weapon.
Every movement on the river becomes a decision.
A fort can be a shield or a cage.
Powhatan's weapon was speed, news moving faster than fear.
Two commanders, one lever. The food clock.
If you want to understand how war shaped our world, stay with us.
If you want the next forgotten world, subscribe, and we'll uncover it together.
They sailed into a world that didn't know their names. The first enemy wasn't a warrior, it was the ground. Smith doesn't talk about glory, he measures survival. The river looked like life and tasted like trouble.
Across the water, the network notices everything. Before any arrows fly, a colony can lose to its own noise. Order begins with one beam placed correctly.
Powhatan's power is not shouting, it's control. In Virginia, silence can be a warning. In a storm, numbers become law. Powhatan's world moves like smoke, quiet, fast, unseen.
Noise doesn't feed you, but it tells the forest you're afraid.
Every sound from the fort becomes a message.
A commander wins nothing at night, he only prevents loss.
He doesn't rush, he times. The storm arrives quietly, one cough at a time.
Leave!
Smith turns panic into a schedule. In a fragile system, small checks prevent big disasters.
Order can ration, but it cannot create food. When you can't farm yet, you map your way to survival. Information is the first weapon you don't run out of. Powhatan's strength is not a fortress, it's harvest.
Containment begins with one message, carried fast.
Discipline doesn't look heroic, it looks repetitive.
Every supply run is a gamble against the clock.
Power is sometimes the shot you don't take. When food is scarce, trust is the first currency to collapse.
Trade here is not peace, it's leverage.
When the world goes dark, a route is hope.
The river is the road, and the risk.
A closed basket can be louder than a war drum.
The storm doesn't announce itself. It tests you.
Smith stops calling it foraging. He calls it an operation.
If they fail today, the fort starts dying tomorrow. In fog, you don't see the trap. You feel it.
Every kernel is a decision. Give, deny, or demand a price.
Negotiation here is measured in fear and patience. In Jamestown, corn is treasure.
Containment doesn't always strike. Sometimes it only shadows.
The river narrows, and so does your margin for error. This is war, fought in seconds, decided by surprise. Down! They risk everything for one more day of food. A single shipment can feel like victory. The clock slows, but it never stops.
Powhatan measures the newcomers by one thing: how long they can last.
A closed storehouse is a strategic weapon.
Hunger doesn't just weaken bodies, it breaks trust.
Containment feels like being watched and never seeing who watches.
Once the river becomes a trap, maps become armor. A narrow passage turns numbers into a liability.
Powhatan fights with placement, not spectacle.
Order means making people move when they want to collapse. A fort that never opens becomes a tomb.
He sets borders without writing a single word.
The land keeps records, if you know how to read them. The scariest enemy is the one who never commits. Damn it all!
When supplies vanish, the storm becomes personal.
In crisis, decisions must travel faster than panic.
Networks win by moving information without delay.
A siege can be built from rumor.
Even ordinary work becomes war preparation.
Hope lasts only as long as the system holds.
The land doesn't care who you are, only what you can endure.
He doesn't need
Doesn't need to attack, he only needs to wait.
The cutoff begins with a hand pulling back. When portions shrink, fear grows.
Johnson, third watch. Miller, main gate. Keep sharp, men.
In scarcity, routine is the last shield.
Containment isn't one strike. It's a network of no.
Hunger turns every meal into math.
Noise can't buy food, but it can start a spiral.
In Powhatan's world, corn is policy.
When the cutoff begins, you either move or you collapse.
Every trip is a wager with unseen hands.
Containment is choreography.
When you're contained, motion becomes survival. A run can succeed and still not be enough.
He tightens the net without raising his voice.
A system under hunger pressure begins to fracture.
Sometimes the threat is the absence of a threat.
Right then, move, now! But Captain, the rain! When morale breaks, commands must be simpler than fear.
The storm eats strength one breath at a time. When choices disappear, risk becomes mandatory.
The cutoff becomes policy.
The sound of empty is the loudest sound in a fort.
Hunger turns leadership into a target!
A commander can't sleep when the clock is louder than the river.
In a fragile system, one mistake can remove a leader.
When the system loses its anchor, the storm accelerates.
He feels the shift. The fort is wobbling.
Scarcity doesn't just starve bodies, it rewires ethics.
Winter turns the clock into a weapon.
A guarded granary can win a war without firing.
This is what losing looks like, long before any final blow.
In the starving time, every step costs.
A meal becomes a rumor.
When vigilance collapses, this collapses.
Sometimes victory is patience.
Without strength, even plans break.
Containment works when the enemy can't move.
The cage is complete. Pressure is powerful, but it costs the system that applies it.
Then the war changes, because the colony doesn't die.
Reinforcement is a reboot button. A broken system can restart if new supply arrives.
We must move here by dawn.
The same map becomes a new machine.
When an enemy can reboot, pressure alone may not finish the war. Order returns heavier, stricter, harder!
The lever hasn't changed. Only the opponent has. This wasn't an ending. It was the start of a permanent contest. In war and business, the winner controls the supply clock.
Own the bottleneck, not the headline.
Discipline creates options when the market turns cold.
Systems beat motivation when the storm lasts longer than your courage.
Never assume your competitor stays weak. Plan for their reboot.
The audio features a voiceover saying, "Leverage is power, but only if your own system can afford the cost. Storms are inevitable. What matters is the system you build before and rebuild after." Survival isn't luck. Survival is a system.